Okay, so welcome back to Wisdom Wednesday. Today's question comes from a provider who, at the surface level, sounds like it's a question about tuition, but I actually think it's a leadership question. Let's get into why. Here's the situation. A child's family submitted the withdrawal notice, and the child's last day is this upcoming Thursday. The provider is closed on Friday because it's Independence Day, but the family deducted that holiday from the final tuition payment. Now, she's wondering, should they still have to pay for the holiday? And I love this question. Let me tell you why. Because I actually don't think it's about the money. I think it's about consistency. And consistency is one of the hardest parts of leadership. As directors and providers, I understand that we are compassionate people. We naturally care about families. We want to help, and we understand that life happens. And because we care, sometimes we start questioning our own policies. We ask ourselves, we say things like, well, this situation is a little different, or maybe I should make an exception this one time. Sounds familiar? You may even say, well, they're leaving anyway, or it's just one family. And that's exactly where leadership gets difficult. Now, let me keep it real with y'all for a minute, because sometimes it's not our policies that we are struggling with. We are struggling with enforcing our policies. Because think about it, policies are easy to agree with when you're making them or when you're just looking at them on paper. It's usually not until it's time to enforce them when policies tend to become uncomfortable. And that's because no one likes to have awkward conversations. I understand. Nobody likes disappointing people. I get that as well. And most times people don't even want to deal with the conflict that may result from enforcing a policy. But here's what I learned over the years. Every exception you make, teach people what your policies really mean. Think about that. Every exception that you make teaches your staff, teaches your parents, community members, and every business member that you're engaged with what your policies mean and how they stand. Whether you are lenient or whether you're fair or whether you're going to enforce them or whether they can walk all over them and treat them as if they're just a piece of paper as a casualty. But what we have to understand is when we make these exceptions, whether it's for one family, one student, one staff member, the exception doesn't just affect that particular individual. It doesn't even just affect you. It affects every family, staff member, vendor watching. Now, let's get back to the handbook. If the handbook clearly states that tuition includes paid holidays, then the policy already answered the question. Now, let me say that again for the providers in the back. The policy already made the decision. Now, if you decide to waive the fee as the business owner, that is totally your choice, and I understand. There is nothing wrong with extending grace when you intentionally choose to. But do make sure it's a business decision and not an emotional reaction because it feels uncomfortable to enforce your policies. One of the things that I teach in the MORE method is that good systems eliminate unnecessary decision making. So, if you find yourself debating the same exact situations over and over again, you may not be dealing with the people problem. It looked like you just identified the issue in your system. And that's because strong policies exist so you don't have to keep remaking the same decision every time. And in the asker's case, it sounds like she does have a policy in place. She just needs to enforce it. And I know sometimes that can be very uncomfortable, but we have to learn to, when we're running our businesses, whether it's childcare or anything else, that there's going to be times that we have to have uncomfortable conversations, and policies and systems and procedures help make those conversations easier, because now we're not making a decision based on how we feel or what our personal connection is with the teacher, the parent, the whoever we're dealing with, we have our system to rely on. Here's why this matters. Because leadership can become exhausting when every situation turns into a negotiation. But what they do is make those conversations fair, consistent, and predictable. And what that means is families know what to expect, staff know what to expect, and you don't spend your days wondering if you were being too nice or too strict. Instead, you'll be creating consistency, and consistency builds trust. Not perfection, consistency. So today's Wisdom Wednesday lesson is really simple. Policies aren't written for the easy days. They're written for the uncomfortable ones, the emotional ones, the awkward conversations, and the situations that make us second guess ourselves. Because a policy is invaluable when everyone agrees with it. It's just not. Its value is proven when it's applied consistently. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were the provider in this situation, would you enforce the policy as written, or would you make an exception? There's no judgment here. We're all learning, so let's learn together. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's continue the conversation. And as always, keep building stronger systems, because stronger systems create stronger programs. I'll see you next Wednesday.